In a recent interview with Axios, Congressman Khanna reflected on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's rejection of the $1.8 trillion stimulus proposal that was on the table. He suggests taking that deal if it is still on the table.
Why do you think Pelosi refused to take that deal before the election?
My guess would be that she thought we would win the Senate and we would have a bigger majority in the House and that we would quickly be able to get everything we wanted. I think if she had known that we wouldn't win the Senate, maybe it would have been a different calculation.
So do you urge her to take the deal now, assuming
if we get 1.8 trillion? Yeah, no, I mean, I think we would definitely want to make the deal. It's going to be catastrophic if we don't.
Team Rising is here to discuss that. Democratic strategist and founding partner of Northern Star Strategies, Michael Starr Hopkins, and White House reporter for Real Clear Politics, Philip Wegman. They're here to help us get through all of this. It's good to see you guys. How are you?
Great to see you guys.
You.
Oh, let me start with you, Michael. In general, do you now believe it was a mistake for Pelosi not to have taken that deal? I think there are two ways to look at it, which is obviously the country suffered. But I also think that if the checks had gone out, Trump probably would have won re-election, and that she seems to certainly have paid a price, at least the House majority did, for holding up stimulus negotiations. How do you think about that politically and morally?
You know, I think from everything we've seen, it doesn't look like Mitch McConnell would have actually let that vote happen. The deal that Mitch McConnell wanted to put through was around $800 billion. And so the 1.8 number, I don't actually think would have gotten pushed through, which is why I have a little problem with Roe saying that. I like Roe a lot. And obviously, we want to do what's best for the American people. But we've got to have willing partners to negotiate. And McConnell is a bad faith actor in the most polite ways of putting it.
Yeah, but why not have put it to him then?
Right.
You know, if you really think, okay, he's not going to pass it anyway, so Trump's not going to get his stimulus. I think it's very unlikely, Michael, that Democrats are going to get anything close to that good of a deal at this point. So did they blow the opportunity? Not only put the politics aside, but this may have been their best chance to get some meaningful stimulus to the American people.
Yeah, I think what Democrats blew was the messaging war when it came to it. We should have absolutely been putting that bill on the floor for a vote and then ramming it down Republicans' throats and letting every American, whether they're Democrat or Republican, know that Mitch McConnell was the one who shot that down. And he was the reason they weren't getting their checks, not Democrat. I think that was something where Democrats just botched the message.
I think you're right there, Michael. Now, Phil, you've been covering the White House, and I know everything is all election, et cetera, but what do you think about? Is there an appetite within the White House if the election conclusion is accepted by the president and more to actually pursue any sort of stimulus deal, or do you think it's just dead in the water?
Well, really quickly, what I want to say that the remarks we just heard from the congressman are what happened when you have weak House leadership that allows idealism to run amok. I mean, you know, when you let that get in the way of partisan considerations, you get congressmen who suddenly think that the job of being an elected official is to govern on behalf of the governed.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
I'm being pretty sarcastic here, but I think that, it's true that Pelosi didn't want half a loaf of a deal because it likely would have given the president a win before Election Day. I think that, what you just heard, Michael rightly point out, I think that Republicans, especially at the White House, would repeat back, but in the inverse. They would say, well, we negotiated with Pelosi numerous times. Mnuchin was there every day, and we were willing, to raise our number. We raised our number 3 times, and yet we just couldn't make a deal. Look, the Trump administration was desperate to make any type of deal. Mnuchin, the resident Democrat at the White House, did not care about these ideological concerns. President Trump certainly doesn't care about quote unquote fiscal responsibility. Any concerns about the top line price were coming from Senate Republicans who didn't want to, blow up the budget even more. I think that, the administration at least was willing to make some sort of deal. And it certainly seems that Pelosi was willing to put that on hold, grin, bear it, take the price in some lost seats, and avoid giving the president a win in the run up to Election Day.
Yeah.
And Phil, let me match your sarcasm here. So obviously, once Joe Biden gets inaugurated, the Republicans are going to absolutely in the Senate work with him in good faith if the American people need another shot of stimulus and get something done, right?
Oh yeah, we're back on that Tea Party Express, man. Just woo, we're back on there. Like, we're going to balance the budget, get rid of the deficit.
Yeah.
No, I feel like, look, it's true. Republicans care about spending when they're in the minority. They don't care about it when they're in control. I think one of the incredible ironies of the last year or so, the Trump administration, is that you have Mark Meadows, who is the chief of staff to this president. I covered the House Freedom Caucus pretty closely. And I remember when those guys were going to war with the Obama administration, they were going to war with Paul Ryan because they wanted to trim $30 billion off of appropriations bills in 2015. And they didn't make their case back then in terms of politics or process. In all earnestness, they said that it was about fiscal responsibility. Those arguments went out the window as soon as Trump was elected. And I don't think that Republicans really have a leg to stand on if they're going to make those same arguments about the debt so quickly after, they jettison those. But, I'm sure they will.
Here's the question to you, Michael, which is that let's say, okay, so it works out there is a Republican Senate. If Georgia goes the way that I generally think that it is going to go, and Biden is the president, what does stimulus negotiations look like then? And I think that people could rightfully have said that the best chance at it happening was before, in which both sides certainly had bad faith actors. Who's going to get the blame in that scenario? Because I think it's going to go all the way around.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to get the blame. But here's the problem when it comes to Democrats and Republicans negotiating. At the end of the day, Republicans are hostage takers, but they're willing to kill the hostage to win the deal. Democrats never are. And so going into it, Republicans know that as long as they're willing to kill the hostage, they can always get the best deal possible. They know Democrats are always going to fold at the end of the day because they want to save the hostages. You can't go into negotiations that way.
I think that is very well said. All right, gentlemen, stick with us. We're going to be right back with Michael Starr Hopkins and Philip Wegman after this.